Hello everyone, welcome to my sketching class. Today I'm going to show you how to sketch an emerald tree boa. We're using the reference from the book called Animal, published by DK. And if you have the book, we're on page 110. We're going to focus on the portrait of the boa, of the snake only, not the whole body. We're going to start the sketch with a circle. The circle will be small. It's going to be about 1/3 of the width of our sketching page. Sketch slowly and observe the circle. Try to make the circle as round as you can. We draw a horizontal line to divide the circle into two parts. The horizontal line should be parallel to the top and the bottom edges of our sketching page. We divide the diameter inside the circle into two parts. Use your pencil and your thumb. We measure the half right of the diameter, and then we move the pencil to the left to check if the half right is as wide as the half left. If they are not, you may want to replace the dot. We draw a vertical line that passes the mark we just made. We make sure that the vertical line is parallel to the left and the right edges of our sketching page. We divide all the radius inside the circle into 4 even parts. You can divide each radius into 2 parts. Use your pencil and your thumb, measure, and check. Divide each radius carefully and make sure all little sections right here are in the same size. We're gonna draw a horizontal line that passes the 3rd mark on the top radius. We draw a vertical line that passes the 2nd mark on the right radius. Try to make it straight as you can. To draw the eye, it's like an oval if you have the reference. Look at the book. We draw a curve that is slightly curved to the top. However, the face is diagonal, so the eye will be diagonal as well. It looks like an oval. The right side will be a little bit lower than the left side. From the second mark, you can see that the eye does not touch the second vertical line. From the second mark, we use curve line. To draw a curve for the muscle around the eye. It's not too dark. We draw a horizontal line that passes the second mark on the bottom radius, and then draw a horizontal line that passes the bottom of the circle. We draw a vertical line that passes the left side of the circle, and we also duplicate half of a radius to the left side. You can use your pencil and your thumb. Measure the half left of a radius, and then duplicate to the left like that, and draw a vertical line. Draw a horizontal line that passes the top of the circle. And then from the third mark on the left radius, we add a curve. It's light. It shows the border between the face and the lip. You can see that the curve is slightly curved to the top right. But when you are about to reach the second horizontal line, we make a suddenly move to the top left, and we're gonna end at the middle of the gap between the first and the second horizontal line, right here. From the intersection between the second horizontal line and the second vertical line, we draw a curve that is slightly curved to the right. It looks like this line right here is parallel to the previous line, but they are not. You can see that the more the current line goes to the top, the closer it's going to be to the previous line. And then, when you reach the middle of the gap between the first and the second horizontal line, turn the line to the top and draw a curve like this. Stop when you reach the first vertical line. We draw a wavy line like that for the front of the nose. The line is curly. It's curved to the top, lightly curved to the bottom, and then mostly curved to the top. But when it's about to reach the circle, it will be lightly curved to the top. It's flatter. When you are about to reach the third vertical line, add another curve for the muscle of the eye on the other side. You can see that those little things will help us feel the muscle of the snake. You can see that the line, when it passes the last vertical line, it will suddenly curve to the right and slide to the bottom. It does not touch the third horizontal line. To be sure, I would duplicate 1/4 of a radius to the right side of the circle and then draw a curve for the muscle in the back of the head. The curve ends at the intersection between the muscle around the eye and the last vertical line. And again, try to make the line light, not too dark. From the same mark, We add another curve. You can see that this curve right here is curved to the top, but um it's light. It shows the two muscles on the top of the head. We extend the line to the bottom. Then, we make it past the last vertical line just a little bit, and the curve will not touch the last vertical line. We need to finish up the lip. We go back to the very bottom of the mouth. We turn the line to the bottom right. You can see that this line right here is slightly curved to the top. Look at the book. Look at the reference. The line passes the second mark on the bottom radius. It will slide to the bottom right, and we stop at the last horizontal line. You want to take about 20 seconds to look at your work one more time. Put it far away, at least one arm far away, and modify the shape, fix any mistakes that you feel like need to be fixed. When you're done, duplicate half of a radius to the bottom of the circle and draw a horizontal line. This will show us how low the lower jaw should be. At the intersection between the bottom of the upper jaw and the fifth horizontal line, we draw a curve and turn the line to the bottom left. Look at the reference. You can see that the line is tricky. It's slightly curved to the bottom, but when you are about to reach the second vertical line, it will subtly slide to the bottom left, make the line lightly curved to the top. We will go under the last horizontal line a little bit, and then we will make it past the first vertical line just a little bit. We make a mark at on the last horizontal line, which is between the third and the fourth vertical lines. We draw a curve that is slightly curved to the bottom and extend the line to the left. The more the line goes to the left, the closer it's going to be to the previous line. You can see that the line is curly. It's curved to the bottom first, and then curved to the top. Now we'd like you to make a mark. Make a mark on the bottom of the upper jaw, and this mark right here is right under the second mark on the left radius. We draw a curve that is slightly curved to the left, like that. Stop when you pass the fourth horizontal line. Then, from that intersection, we add another curve. And we stop at the fifth horizontal line. Add another curve from the intersection between the first and the second line to the bottom left. We make it past the intersection between the fifth horizontal line and the second vertical line. We draw a curve for the muscle around the teeth. We use wavy line, draw a fang, like that. If you look at the book, you will see that the fang is small. It's only this much. The rest will be about tissue. Near the first vertical line, we add an angle. We make sure that the fang on the right a little bit larger than the left, or the right should be as large as the left. Then we draw the muscle. We extend the line for the muscle around the fang to the top right. When you reach the fifth horizontal line, turn the line to the top right and make it stop at the second mark on the bottom radius. There is a muscle inside the mouth right here. I'm not pretty sure what it is. But at the middle right here, I'm pretty sure it has a tube. I believe this is where the tongue comes out. So it hides the tongue in this tube. For the fangs on the top, we make a mark on the third horizontal line, which is between the first and the second vertical line. We draw a wavy line. Once you pass the third horizontal line, draw a wavy line and make sure that you end the line. Make the line touch the bottom of the upper jaw before you reach the lower jaw. So there's a little gap right here. You want to pay attention on that. From the first vertical line, we add 1, 2 curve. When you reach the second horizontal line, turn the line to the top right. You can see that the line does not touch, the very end of the line does not touch the second horizontal line. But it will touch the left side of the right fang. There's no gap between them. I mean between the muscles of two fangs. Then we add the fangs. Same theory. The one on the right will be longer and wider than the left. If you look at the reference, there will be 2 teeth on the bottom. Right here. They are really tiny. To determine the nostril, we're gonna draw half of circle near the circular line. Okay, I think we get all the details. We're gonna add, if you have the book, you can see that it has a lot of scales texture. We're gonna add that when we do the shading. If we draw those details right now, when we erase, it will take a lot of time to erase. Okay, so let's finish up the neck. For the neck, let's duplicate a radius. Let's duplicate a radius to the right side. I'll check again. And then we draw a vertical line. From the intersection between the head and the third horizontal line. We draw a curve that is slightly curved to the bottom. Turn the line to the top right. From the intersection between the lower jaw and the last horizontal line, we draw a curve that is slightly curved to the bottom. We need to make sure that the more the neck go to the right, the thicker it's going to be. So those lines are not actually parallel to each other. Okay, so when you're done, take about 20 seconds to check your work. Put your sketch far away, at least one arm far away. Check the sketch and see how it looks. And when you're done, you can go ahead and erase the guidelines. We're going to erase the circle, all the horizontal lines, and vertical lines. And for those who would like to add the tongue, yeah, later you can add it. Okay. I think when you draw the tongue, it should be from the tube right here. You can see that this tube right here, this line right here is not round like parts of an oval. It has an angle right here to show the where the tongue gonna go out. That. Let's erase the guidelines. And for those who have made the sketch kind of dark, you want to use eraser, tap like this. It will make the line lighter. So when you're done erasing the guidelines, get a cotton ball, squeeze it, and then I'm gonna blend to soften the line and blur little details that are not necessary. Yep. So when you do the shading, we're gonna work on the eye. If you look at the book, you will see that the lighting comes from the top left to the bottom right. We're gonna add a little highlight on the top left. It's like an oval. When you draw the people, we have to use curved lines, which are curved to the left. We keep shading. We make the shape of the pupil wide at the top, narrow at the bottom. Use curved lines. We shade around the eye. You can see that I use multiple curves to shade around the eye. I add a lot of curves near the outline, and the more shade toward the center, the less I'm gonna do, the less I'm gonna shade. Hold your pencil far away in the back. We will not worry about um, the scales yet. We'll work on the shape, the shadow first. You can see that by adding shading around the eye, it shows the depth. The value is dark at the bottom, brighter to the top. When you're done, we use Q-tip. We blend from the bottom to the top. Let's go over the highlight. With circular pattern, soften the shading from the top to the bottom. Try to make the value blend and soften. We use the graphites we have on the Q-tip to blend, to shade the value on the left side of the eye. We do not touch the eye, but it looks like there's a little gap between the shading and the eye. And you can see that the value on the right is darker than the left because the light comes from the top left to the bottom right. So everything on the left will be brighter than the right. We go back with circular pattern. We add more shading on the eye. Make the pupil darker. Of course, we need to use eraser to make the bottom of the highlights brighter. I want to shade the nostril. The nostril will be dark at the top, brighter to the bottom. So add a lot of shading on the top, but shade lightly. Relax your hand as you shade to the bottom. That. Now we have to determine the darkest value. The darkest value will gather mostly inside the mouth. We're gonna see how dark we can get um, on the mouth, and based on that, we're gonna generate the values on the skin. I'll start at the outline of the upper jaw, shade to the bottom. Here's a little tip. When you shade inside the mouth, in this composition, we shade from the outline to the left. The value will be lighter as it goes far away from the line. And we stop before we reach the next line. So for example, I started it from this line right here. I keep shading to the left, and I stop before I reach the next line. And from the next line, I keep shading to the left, and I stop before I reach the little next line right here. So by doing this, it will make the outline of the shape darker, clearer for us to look at. But it does not make the outline too hard because we use multiple lines to shade. We do not use one single line to make the outline bold. That's difference between 2D drawing and 3D drawing, like cartoon drawing and realistic drawing. That. Then, from the top of the mouth, we use circular pattern. We shade from the outline of the tissue to the top. Because of the lighting, the top of the tissues or the muscles right here will be brighter than the bottom. Okay. Same right here. We use circular pattern shade from the outline to the middle to the bottom. And the top of the muscles on the lower jaw will be dark at the top, brighter to the bottom. Think about it like this. The tissue is pink, and pink is brighter than green and dark yellow. So we have to create the shadow, but still make sure that the whole tissue, all the pinky color, looks brighter than green and yellow. We use Q-tip. With circular pattern, we blend from the top to the bottom. We work on the inside of the mouth first. Like that, and we soften the shading. We will not touch the outline of the upper jaw and the lower jaw. Then we go back. We add more shading to emphasize the dark inside the mouth. We focus mostly on the top. You see that I go back on touch up. The darkest area. I do not shade everything again. Okay. Now we make things clearer by making the shell. To draw the shell, I recommend that you sketch some lines like this. Look at the reference. We mimic the pattern. We not copy exactly all the details. You can see that the shells become wider, larger, as they go to the right, and then suddenly become smaller. You can see that I overlap the outline. I make the outline no longer smooth. Based on the book, the right scale will cast a shadow to the left one. So we shade from the top to the bottom, from the right to the left. Each scale will be darkest at the top right. I only shade half of each scale because I know that when we do the blending, the value will be spread um, to the left. So, like the top, we're gonna add more scales at the bottom. We do the same rules. Make each scale on the lower jaw dark at the top right, brighter to the bottom left. You cannot break the rule, otherwise all the scales will not look unified or cohesive. It's kind of time consuming because we have to work on each individual scale. Look at the book, look at the reference. That's why it's really helpful that you have the book with you so you can look at the reference. You can see that the pattern of the snake follow the rhythm. It will be slowly wider, like the shape will become slowly wider or slowly uh, smaller. It will be subtly changed when we have to move to another organ, another section. For example, you can see that the scale on the head is kind of small right here, right? And suddenly, the pattern change, the shape change on the neck. The scales on the neck look like fish scale. But we do the same thing. We make the top darker than the bottom. Make the right darker than the left. And the more you shade to the right, the less you're gonna. I mean, the more you shade to the right of the neck, not the scales, the less you're gonna shade. I know it's kind of confusing. So basically, we still make each scale dark at the right, brighter to the left, dark at the top, brighter to the bottom. But overall, the more you shade to the right, the less we're gonna shade. Like we make all the scales on the right brighter than the scales on the left. You can see that I'm not trying to shade it everywhere. Take your time. You can pause the video to work on your sketch. Um, at your pace. But again, make sure that each scale on the neck point to the right, and the scales on the neck look um, longer than those on the head. Try not to make the outline too dark. We are making the scale clear, sharp at the top, and blurry to the bottom. There will be scales. I'm going to add scales for the very bottom of the body. And that they are a little bit different. They are long, round, not pointy. Then I work on the scales at the border of the mouth. Same thing, dark at the right, brighter to the left. Also, make sure the bottom of the upper jaw is a little bit darker than the skin, the pinky tissue. I want to start the scales from the eye. Look at the reference and you draw. You can see that from far away, it's kind of hard to see the scales. So you don't have to make the scale too dark. When you look at the reference on the book, far away, we don't recognize the scales until we look closely and pay attention to it. You need to make sure that you make the scales similar to the reference. It's not like you make the scales become larger so you don't have to shade a lot. It's not like that. We are studying, so we have to draw based on the reference. Unless you have another intention, then you can make up your mind. Again, relax your hand. You can see that the scales on the top look smaller because of perspective, just like my hand right now. It looks wide, but if I put it like this, it looks skinnier. Same thing to those scales on the top of the head. The scales will become wider as they go toward the nose. Look at the direction, the pattern of the scale. That we clarified the shading. We make all the lines dark when they're close to the eyes. When they close the value that we shaded earlier, right here. So this is a way of shading, but using pattern. You can see that we shade based on the pattern, but we make those in the dark area darker. In order to know which scales should be darker, put your reference far away, and you will see this area. This area right here, somewhere right here, will be darker. They have to be dark to show the form of the snake. So now we're gonna unify all the scales together. We're gonna use Q-tip. We blend. We're gonna blend from the top left to the bottom right. We go over the snake is fine. Do not touch the eye. Okay. And you will see that it's flattened. The whole thing is gone. Like the shading become blurry and the outline kind of hard to see. It's fine. Just look at the reference. Make sure you add more value on the dark area. Of course, you can see that now the sketch become kind of flat, blurry, because everything is dark. We're gonna use eraser to make the value brighter. Now I would like you to use cotton ball, squeeze it. We blur the whole thing. Like we blend the right side of the neck. We go over the outline a little bit. Then touch up with our darkest pencil. I'm using 8B. The bottom of the neck gonna be darker than the top is the fact. So we add more shading. The cast shadow should be darker to show the depth or the gap between two scales. Relax your hand. And again, we are not shading everything again. We touch up. Remember the green will be darker than the yellow. So I will focus on the border between the transition at the I will focus on um, the border at the transition between green and yellow. Sometimes we have to make it dark enough in order to feel like the bright valley are bright enough. You can see that when we touch up, the details, the information become clear. I'm gonna hold my pencil farther in the back to add more value to separate the head from the neck. You can see that I hold my pencil at an angle, not like this. The value will be dark when it's close to the head and brighter when it goes to the right. Some value around the eye. That. When you're done, use eraser. Add some highlight on the skin, on the muscle. There will be highlights on in the front of the mouth. We add the highlights on the left side. Remember, we make each scale dark at the top, right? So we have to use eraser to add some little highlights for those scales in the front. We need some highlight right at the border between the scales near the mouth and the scales near the eye. And make sure your eraser is sharp. There will be some highlight on the top of the head. And when you add the highlights, it's like you add the highlights on each scale. Add some highlights. Not at the bottom of the body, but at the bottom of the skin. So it will make us feel like the bottom has brighter color than the top. When you're done, put your sketch far away, at least one arm far away. Check the sketch and see how it looks. You see any part too blurry, you can use pencil shade like this to clarify the outline, especially those on the bottom. It's very important and helpful to do so. When you're done, go ahead and sign your work at the bottom right. Make sure you date your work. I'm gonna get a stamp and then stamp it. So that's all about the lesson for today, and I hope you found this lesson helpful and enjoyable. Keep sketching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.